My mother shoved me off the hospital bed mid-labor for not using her doctor. That's when the truth about her doctor finally came out. Hi, I'm Lucia. Today, I'm going to tell you my story. But before I continue, please like, share, and subscribe to hear more stories like this. You know how some people say their mother-in-law is the worst? Well, they've never met my actual mother. What started as her obsession with controlling my pregnancy turned into something that destroyed our entire family, sent someone to prison, and revealed secrets that had been buried for 20 years. It all began when I announced my pregnancy at what should have been a happy family dinner. Connor and I had been married for 3 years, and we'd finally decided we were ready. We'd invited both sets of parents to our favorite steakhouse, the one where Connor had proposed over loaded baked potatoes and filet mignon. We have some exciting news, I said, reaching for Connor's hand under the table. My mother, Diane, barely looked up from her menu. If you're switching jobs again, I've already told you that communications degree was worthless. Mom, please just listen. We're having a baby, Connor announced, his face glowing with pride. My father dropped his fork. Connor's parents, Helen and Richard, immediately started congratulating us. But my mother? She set down her menu with surgical precision. Who is your obstetrician? We're going with Dr. Amanda Brooks at Lakeside General. She comes highly recommended and… Absolutely not. My mother's voice could have frozen fire. You'll use Dr. Nathaniel Garrison at Whitmore Private Hospital. He delivered you. He delivered your brother Brandon, and he's the only competent OBGYN in this entire state. Mom, Dr. Brooks is perfectly qualified. Plus, she's in our insurance network. Insurance? She laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Lucia, this is your first child. You don't penny pinch on medical care. I'll pay for Dr. Garrison myself if money is the issue. Connor shifted uncomfortably beside me. Diane, we appreciate the offer, but we've already chosen our doctor. We're very happy with our decision. My mother turned to him slowly, like a snake focusing on prey. Connor, when you've carried and delivered a child, then you can have an opinion. Until then, this is between my daughter and me. Mom! I couldn't believe she just said that. Connor is my husband, and the baby's father. Of course he has a say in this. She stood up, throwing her napkin on the table. When you come to your senses and want what's best for your baby instead of being stubborn, you know where to find me. That was just the beginning. Over the next few weeks, she called constantly. She'd leave voicemails about birth defects, complications, and horror stories about incompetent doctors. She'd text Connor articles about malpractice suits. She even showed up at my work one day. Lucia, we need to talk. She stood in my office doorway like she owned the place. Mom, I'm working. And we've discussed this. The answer is still no. She closed the door behind her and sat down. Do you know why I'm so insistent about Dr. Garrison? Because you're controlling. Because Dr. Garrison saved your life when you were born. You had the cord wrapped around your neck twice. Any other doctor would have lost you. Mom, that's not how… And when Brandon had complications, Dr. Garrison knew exactly what to do because he knew our family history. Dr. Brooks doesn't know anything about us. We've provided her with all the medical history she needs. She leaned forward. There are things about your birth that aren't in those records, Lucia. Things only Dr. Garrison knows. What things? What are you talking about? But she stood up and left without answering. The calls got worse. She'd call Helen trying to recruit her to her cause. Helen, bless her, told her to back off, which only made my mother angrier. Your mother called me a nosy busybody, Helen told me over coffee one morning. I've been called worse, but the audacity of her calling anyone else nosy is remarkable. Brandon, my younger brother, tried to mediate. We met for lunch at a diner near his apartment. Lou, you know how Mom is. Maybe just meet with Dr. Garrison once. Get her off your back. Brandon, I'm not switching doctors to appease Mom's control issues. He stirred his sweet tea nervously. It's more than control issues. She's been acting weird lately, weirder than usual. She keeps going to Dr. Garrison's office even though she's not sick. What do you mean? I saw her there 3 times last month when I was visiting Dad at the physical therapy clinic where he gets treatment for his back. She wasn't going to see Dad. Maybe she's sick and not telling us. Brandon shook his head. I asked Dr. Garrison's receptionist carefully. Mom's not a patient. She goes straight to his private office and stays for hours. That should have been my first real warning sign. As my pregnancy progressed, my mother's behavior escalated. She'd show up at my prenatal appointments with Dr. Brooks, causing scenes in the waiting room. This is a substandard facility, she announced loudly during my 5-month checkup. The equipment is outdated, the staff is inexperienced, and my daughter deserves better. Dr. Brooks, professional as always, had security escort her out. I'm so sorry, I apologized, mortified. It's not your fault, Dr. Brooks assured me, but you might want to consider limiting contact with her. Stress isn't good for you or the baby. Connor agreed. We decided to go low contact with my mother, only seeing her at family gatherings where others would be present. This worked for about a month until my baby shower. Helen had organized a beautiful party at her home. Everything was perfect. The decorations with pink and gray elephants, the chicken salad sandwiches, the games. Then my mother arrived with someone I didn't recognize. Everyone, this is Dr. Garrison, she announced. I thought he should meet Lucia before the delivery. The man was in his 60s, tall and distinguished looking, but something about him made my skin crawl. Maybe it was the way he looked at me, like I was a specimen rather than a person. Diane has told me so much about you, he said, taking my hand. His grip was too firm, held too long. You look just like her at that age. Mom, this is inappropriate. Please ask him to leave. Don't be rude, Lucia. Dr. Garrison drove an hour to meet you. Connor stood up. Diane, we've made our decision. This is harassment at this point. Dr. Garrison chuckled. Young man, I've been caring for this family since before you were born. I think I know what's best for them. You don't know anything about my wife or our baby, Connor said firmly. Please leave. My mother's face turned red. How dare you speak to him that way? Do you have any idea who he is? What he's done for this family? Mom, stop. I stood up, my back aching from the pregnancy weight. Whatever weird relationship you have with this doctor, keep it away from me and my baby. Dr. Garrison's expression changed then, became almost threatening. Diane, perhaps we should discuss this privately. They left together, but not before my mother turned back and said, When something goes wrong, don't come crying to me. The next few weeks were relatively quiet. My mother didn't call, didn't visit. I should have been relieved. But Brandon's words kept echoing in my head. Why was she spending so much time at Dr. Garrison's office? I decided to do some investigating. I called the state medical board, pretending to be a potential patient checking credentials. That's when I learned something interesting. Dr. Garrison had been suspended twice in the past for inappropriate relationships with patients. Both suspensions had been mysteriously lifted after short periods. I dug deeper. The local newspaper archives showed that both times large donations had been made to the medical board's ethics committee right before his reinstatement. The donor was anonymous, but the amounts matched withdrawals from my parents' joint savings account that I'd seen on statements years ago when helping them organize tax documents. Connor, I said that night, showing him what I'd found. I think my mom's been paying to keep Dr. Garrison's license. Why would she do that? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. I confronted my father first. We met at his office away from my mother. Dad, I need you to be honest with me. What's going on between Mom and Dr. Garrison? He looked older than his 62 years, tired. Lucia, some things are better left in the past. Not when she's trying to force him on me and my baby. Dad, please. He sighed deeply. Your mother, she had complications when she was young, before you were born. Dr. Garrison helped her through a difficult situation. What kind of situation? I can't say more. I promised her. Dad, she's losing it. She shoved Helen at the baby shower. She's harassing my doctor. This has to stop. I'll talk to her. But talking didn't help. If anything, it made things worse. 2 weeks before my due date, I was at home resting when the doorbell rang. Connor was at work, so I waddled to answer it. A process server stood there with papers. Lucia Montgomery? Yes? You're being served. The papers were a petition for grandparent rights and a declaration of parental incompetence. My mother was suing us for partial custody of our unborn child, claiming we were making dangerous medical decisions that endangered the baby's life. Connor came home to find me sobbing on the couch. She can't do this, can she? She can't take our baby. He called his attorney friend immediately. It's harassment at this point, but you'll need to respond. The good news is, grandparent rights are nearly impossible to get in this state, especially before the baby is even born. We filed our response and a restraining order. The hearing was set for 2 weeks after my due date. I thought that would be the end of it until the actual hearing. I was wrong. 3 days before my due date, I went into labor. Connor rushed me to Lakeside General, and we called only his parents. But somehow, my mother found out. Maybe someone at the hospital recognized our name. Or maybe she'd been watching the house. Either way, she showed up. I was 5 hours into labor when she burst into the delivery room with Dr. Garrison. "Get out of my way!" My mother's voice cut through my contraction as her hands connected with my shoulders. "This is exactly why you should have listened to me about Dr. Garrison." "Mom, stop!" Connor's voice barely registered as I felt myself falling. The hospital bed rail scraping against my arm. "She's in active labor!" The nurse's scream echoed off the walls. I hit the floor hard, pain exploding through my hip and shoulder. The room erupted in chaos. Security rushed in. Nurses surrounded me and Dr. Brooks was shouting orders. "We need to get her back on the bed now. Check the baby's heart rate." Through the pain and confusion, I heard Dr. Garrison say something that chilled me. "Diane, you promised this wouldn't happen again." Again? Security detained both of them while the medical team focused on me. The fall had caused complications. The baby was in distress, and I was bleeding. They had to do an emergency C-section. "You're going to be okay," Connor kept saying, holding my hand as they prepped me for surgery. "Both of you are going to be okay." Our daughter was born 40 minutes later. She was perfect, healthy despite everything. We named her Grace. While I recovered, the police took my statement. Pushing someone who's in active labor constituted assault, possibly aggravated assault given the circumstances. The security footage clearly showed my mother shoving me off the bed. But the real revelations came during the police investigation. Detective Alvarez came to see me the next day. "Mrs. Montgomery, we've uncovered some concerning information about Dr. Garrison and your mother." "What kind of information?" "Were you aware that your mother had a child before you were born?" The room spun. "What?" 28 years before you were born, your mother had a son. The birth certificate lists Dr. Garrison as the attending physician, but there are irregularities. The baby supposedly died within hours, but there's no death certificate on file. Connor gripped my hand. "Are you saying—" "We're investigating the possibility that the child was illegally adopted out and records were falsified. Dr. Garrison has been linked to several such cases from that era. Black market adoptions were lucrative." I thought I might be sick. "My mother, she gave away a baby? Or was she coerced?" "She was very young, only 17. Dr. Garrison was already in his 30s then. There are questions about the nature of their relationship." The pieces started falling into place. My mother's obsession with Dr. Garrison, the payments to keep his license, her insistence that he knew things about our family that weren't in medical records. "We need to interview your mother, but she's refusing to cooperate without a lawyer." My father came to see me that afternoon. He looked broken. "You knew," I said. It wasn't a question. I found out after we were married. She told me she'd had a baby young, that it died. I believed her. It wasn't until years later, when she started acting strange around your birth, that I suspected more. And you never said anything? What could I say? Accuse her of lying about her dead child? Question her trauma? I loved her. I still do, despite everything. Dad, she assaulted me. She could have killed Grace. I know. Tears ran down his face. I know. And I'm sorry. I should have done something sooner. The investigation revealed more than anyone expected. Dr. Garrison had been running an illegal adoption ring for decades, targeting young, vulnerable women. He'd convinced them their babies had died or had severe disabilities, then sold the infants to wealthy couples. My mother had been one of his victims, but over the years, Stockholm Syndrome or guilt had twisted her into his defender. The FBI got involved. Dozens of families were torn apart by the revelations. Some found children they thought were dead. Others discovered their adoptions were illegal. My mother was charged with assault and conspiracy to commit fraud for her role in covering up Dr. Garrison's crimes. She'd helped him falsify records, paid bribes, and even recruited other vulnerable women to him over the years. Dr. Garrison was arrested on multiple federal charges. At 71, he was facing life in prison. Brandon was devastated. Our whole family is a lie, Lou. Everything Mom told us. Everything she preached about family values and making the right choices, it was all to cover up her own trauma and crimes. She was a victim first, I reminded him, though it was hard to feel sympathy after what she'd done to me. Was she? Or did she become something worse than her abuser? The trial was a media circus. Our family name was dragged through the mud. Connor's parents were incredibly supportive, basically adopting Brandon and me while our parents' lives imploded. My mother was convicted of aggravated assault and conspiracy. She got 5 years in prison, 3 with good behavior. During the sentencing, she finally spoke directly to me. I just wanted to protect you, she said. I wanted you to have the best care. No, Mom. You wanted to control me like Dr. Garrison controlled you. You became the very monster who hurt you. Dr. Garrison got 25 to life. During his allocution, he showed no remorse, insisting he'd help those women by finding better homes for their babies. The judge called him a predator who'd exploited vulnerable patients for decades. The FBI managed to reunite some families. My half-brother, the baby my mother thought was dead, he was alive, living in Portland. His name was Andrew, and he'd had a good life with his adoptive parents, though he'd always wondered about his birth family. We met once, awkwardly at a coffee shop downtown, but decided to stay in touch. He looked like my father, had the same gentle demeanor Dad used to have before everything fell apart. My father filed for divorce, while my mother was in prison. He couldn't forgive the lies, the manipulation, or what she'd done to me and Grace. He moved closer to us, becoming the grandfather Grace deserved. The civil suit against the hospital where Dr. Garrison had worked resulted in a settlement that we put into a trust for Grace's education. We donated a portion to a charity that helps victims of illegal adoptions find their families. My mother wrote me letters from prison. I returned them unopened for the first year. Then curiosity got the better of me, and I read one. It was full of justifications, explanations, and very little accountability. I never opened another. Brandon visited her once, but said she was unrepentant, still insisting she'd done nothing wrong, that Dr. Garrison was a good man who'd been misunderstood. She's completely broken, Lou. Whatever he did to her all those years ago, it destroyed the person she might have been. Sometimes late at night, when Grace wouldn't sleep and I'd walk the hallway with her, I'd think about that, about how trauma can twist people into unrecognizable shapes, about how victims can become victimizers when they don't face their pain. Grace is 2 now. She's walking, talking, and absolutely perfect. She has Connor's dimples and my stubborn streak, though Connor insists All the stubbornness comes from me. She'll never know her maternal grandmother, and that's for the best. Sometimes I think about nature versus nurture. My mother claimed she was protecting me, but she was really protecting herself from facing her trauma. She chose to become complicit in her abuser's crimes rather than confront what had happened to her. She chose control over compassion, manipulation over motherhood. Last week we ran into one of Dr. Garrison's other victims at the farmer's market. She recognized me from the trial coverage. "Your testimony helped put him away," she said. "My daughter was taken in 1979. I found her last year because of the investigation your case triggered." "Thank you." I thought about my mother then, about how she could have been the one to stop him decades ago if she'd found the courage to speak up instead of becoming his accomplice. But her story ended where mine began. Grace will grow up knowing she's loved, supported, and free to make her own choices. She'll never have to earn her mother's love by surrendering her autonomy. We take her to the park, read her stories about brave princesses who rescue themselves, and let her choose her own clothes even when she picks polka dots with stripes. My mother gets out on parole next month. She's not allowed contact with me or Grace, but Brandon says she's planning to move back to town. Part of me wonders if she's learned anything, if prison has given her perspective. Another part of me knows that some people are so broken by their past that they can never fully heal. My father remarried last spring, a kind woman named Patricia who works at the library and has never tried to control anyone's life. They came to Grace's birthday party and brought her a rocking horse. Dad looks younger now, lighter somehow, like he's finally breathing freely. Connor and I are talking about having another baby. This time, the pregnancy won't be overshadowed by chaos and courtroom battles. This time, we'll choose our own path without fear. So, my question to you is this. If you discovered someone you loved had been both a victim and a villain, could you forgive them? Or would you protect yourself and your family by walking away forever? For me, the answer became clear the moment my mother's hands pushed me off that hospital bed. Some boundaries, once crossed, can never be uncrossed. Some trust, once shattered, can never be rebuilt. I chose Grace. I chose myself. I chose freedom over obligation, and I've never looked back.